Do any contemporary fine artists inspire me? Contemporary. Here's the thing. I'm not that into the direction contemporary has gone. Like, I very much like the element of skill in art and the element of hard work and the element of respect for beauty that you see in things like Renaissance artists or Pre-Raphaelites or, plenty of things, right? Like that. And I'm not so much into the do a random wacky thing and call it art. Like, I think that's just, it lacks depth. That said, so I was in Austria and we saw this Klimt exhibit, and he's got this famous painting called The Kiss, which I guess is fine. I mean, it's really famous. It's interesting to look at, but it's not remotely my favorite kind of thing. But they also had something he did, like a portrait that he painted from before he went, I guess modern or a little bit postmodern or however you would call what he did. And that portrait was amazing. It was he really could paint in a very realistic, very beautiful, very refined style. And then he chose to go do this other thing. So I respect that a lot more than I'm doing something wacky and I don't have the skill to do these other things and my thing is on the wall, right? So, I mean, if you like Klimt, look up his portraiture from before he changed styles. I'm sure it's well documented on the internet, and it's oh, okay. He changed styles from that to that. So he has some skill. That's all I've been saying. Contemporary art is more conceptual, though. It's more about ideas than beauty. Yeah, but no. Ideas are kind of cheap, and execution is where mastery is shown. And I know from making games that execution is where you develop the idea into something a lot more interesting than the original idea. And if you just cheap out on execution, you don't see the depth of the idea, right? I worked on The Witness for a long time because I really wanted to explore the depths of the idea of the game and do the best thing possible, right? We could have made The Witness where it's hey, there's some puzzles. We just want to have the idea of grid puzzles. We're not going to work that hard on making them really good. And then there'll be some surprises in the world. But we're not going to work that hard on making them be that good. We're not going to really make them look good. Ta-da! We did the idea. Ideas are art. You can imagine that version of the game, and I think it's obviously not nearly as good as the game that we shipped. So the problem that's happening right now is that somehow museum curators have convinced themselves that things that are not that good are actually good, right? There are obviously better versions of many of these things. And, we've ended up in a place where it's not seen as necessary to make them. And that's why nobody pays attention to art, really. The populace ignores art for the most part now. Am I more into Kubrick kind of artistically accurate films? No, I mean, I think it depends. Avant-garde things are fine as long as they are high quality, right? As long as they are high quality. Someone says spoken like a true white male. No, I don't know if you meant that sarcastically or seriously, but if you meant it seriously, you're the one being biased because I think people of all races can make amazing, beautiful art. You know, men, women, whoever can all make beautiful art, right? It's you don't make things more equal by saying we're going to drop all standards for quality. That's a weird. If you say that, then you're saying I don't think certain groups can make things of quality, which is not true, right? So I hope you meant that sarcastically. Why all the ancestor worship? I'm not ancestor worshiping. I want to see new art that's good. I'm upset that we've decided that art can't be good as a society. And I think that's part of why people are dying of opioid overdoses. It's not the only part, but it's one of the reasons. As an artist, you get bored of seeing art unless it's weird, abstract, messed up. Well, I mean, again, weird and abstract can also be high quality, right? So if you look at somebody like, M.C. Escher, his sketches were really high quality. They were also very weird and messed up for the time. You know, you can have both. It doesn't have to look like a kid scrawling in order to be weird or interesting. The thing is, as an artist, you have to learn the form so you can leave form. Yeah. Everyone just leaves form immediately and calls it art. Yes, I agree, right? You have to learn it, and you have to not just learn what the form is, but you have to learn it well enough to be good at it, right? Because that's how you know what's interesting. I mean, it's probably possible to leave form immediately and find your own way to be super interesting, but it's probably not that easy. It's probably 99.9% failure rate. But for it to be ugly, low quality art when it's deliberate, which usually it is because most contemporary artists actually can render realistic art, then I think it feels kind of more special. Okay, first of all, I disagree that most contemporary artists actually can render realistic art. And I don't even think realistic is the guide, right? It's beautiful in some form, right? And, I've just been to enough exhibits and seen enough low quality art that I'm tired of it. It's just not. And maybe it's also because, so here's the thing is you look at the low quality art and you could see the idea right away. And if you're satisfied by seeing that idea, that's fine. But the ideas that I see in games are so detailed and fascinating that the ideas in a low quality art piece just aren't that interesting to me. They're like idea fragments, It's okay, that's the beginning of an idea. I would like to see something more involved than that, I mean, games are like that sometimes too, but they're very often, more involved. Even a game that I don't have a lot of fun with, like the XOR game that I played yesterday, has way more of an idea structure to it than most low quality art pieces, right? That you just throw on the museum wall or the gallery wall and go, right? Or like this game, even though I'm saying, I wish the design of this game took it a little further, this has way more of an idea structure than most low quality art pieces, way more. So I don't find myself satisfied by those things.